Welcome to G Fun Facts Online. Today we are not talking about stock prices, empty office buildings, or the logistics of Zoom calls. We are talking about something much quieter and infinitely more profound. We are talking about the revolution happening inside your skull. The shift to digital and distributed work that began in earnest in 2020 was not just a change of location. It was a fundamental alteration of how we think. We are currently living through one of the most significant mass psychological experiments in human history. Millions of brains, which evolved over millennia to navigate physical landscapes and decipher rich, analog social cues, were suddenly transplanted into a two-dimensional, hyper-connected digital ether. This is a story about neuroplasticity, the brain's remarkable ability to rewire itself in response to its environment. When your environment shifts from a sensory-rich office or classroom to a silent room lit only by the blue glow of a screen, your brain adapts physically. Neural pathways associated with deep focus, social decoding, and memory retention are being pruned and repaved. We are trading the deep reading brain for the skimming brain. We are offloading our memory to the cloud. We are navigating a social world where eye contact is simulated by staring at a camera lens. So as we settle into this era of hybrid work, we have to ask what this has done to our cognitive architecture. To understand this, we first need to look at the hardware, the human brain itself. Our cognitive machinery was simply not designed for the sustained digital intensity we now demand of it. There are three primary mechanisms under siege right now: cognitive load, context switching, and the mirror neuron system. Let's start with cognitive load. In the 1980s, educational psychologist John Sweller developed cognitive load theory, which posits that our working memory is a finite resource. Think of it like a bucket that can only hold a certain amount of water. In a physical environment, much of the information we process is intuitive. We read body language effortlessly. We navigate space without thinking. But in the digital realm, the extraneous cognitive load, which is the mental effort required just to access and process information, spikes dramatically. There is an interface tax. Every glitch, every query of "can you hear me?" every struggle to find the share screen button adds a micro-tax on your working memory. Then there is the split attention effect. In a physical meeting, you look at the speaker. In a virtual meeting, you are looking at the speaker, the chat window, your email notifications, and most taxingly, your own face. This leads to continuous partial attention. We rarely do one thing anymore. We are in a meeting, but we are also messaging a colleague and editing a document. This state prevents the brain from entering flow states, those deep neurological grooves where complex problem-solving happens. The result is a brain that is chronically full. When working memory is maxed out by navigating the tool, there is no room left for germane load, the energy required to actually learn and store new schemas in long-term memory. This explains the Zoom zombie phenomenon, where you spend 8 hours in meetings, but end the day feeling like you accomplished and remember nothing. The second major factor is the high cost of context switching. A study by the University of California, Irvine, famously found that it takes an average of 23 minutes and 15 seconds to get back on track after an interruption. In a remote setting, interruptions are architectural. You don't just switch tasks, you switch contexts. You might pivot from a deep spreadsheet analysis using your analytical brain to a digital empathy check-in with a distressed colleague using your emotional brain, and then immediately jump into a chaotic all-hands meeting requiring your social brain, all within 10 minutes. This rapid toggling creates what computer scientists call thrashing, where a system spends more energy swapping data in and out of memory than actually processing it. In the hybrid world, the switching cost now includes physical context too. On Tuesday, you are in the office relying on physical cues. On Wednesday, you are at home relying on digital tools. The brain must constantly recalibrate its default mode network, leading to a unique form of exhaustion that is less about physical tiredness and more about metabolic depletion in the prefrontal cortex. Perhaps the most fascinating shift, however, is the mirror effect. Stanford researchers have identified this as a primary driver of digital fatigue. In the real world, you do not see your own face when you speak. In a video call, you are constantly confronted with your own reflection. This triggers a hyperactive self-monitoring mechanism. You are subconsciously critiquing your lighting, your expression, and your posture. It is the cognitive equivalent of someone following you around with a mirror all day. Furthermore, our brains are starved of synchrony. In face-to-face interaction, we rely on millisecond-level micro-expressions to synchronize with others. Video transmission introduces a tiny, often imperceptible latency or lag. Our subconscious brain detects this delay and interprets it as a lack of authenticity. We have to work 10 times harder to read a person through a screen than we do across a table. We are pouring cognitive energy into a void, trying to bridge a gap that technology has not yet closed. As the medium changes, so does the message and the mind that processes it. We are seeing a shift from the literate brain to the digital brain. The literate brain, cultivated over centuries of reading books, is linear, focused, and capable of deep reading. This is a state where we internalize and critique complex arguments. The digital brain, by contrast, is non-linear. It scans, it spots keywords, it scrolls. This is an adaptive response to information overload. If you tried to deep read your entire internet feed, you would be paralyzed. So the brain adapts by becoming a hunter-gatherer of snippets. The danger is that when we skim, we lose the ability to understand complexity and nuance. We become susceptible to misinformation because our brains have lost the patience to verify sources or follow long logical chains. We are also seeing the phenomenon of cognitive offloading. This is the Google effect. Why memorize a fact when it is always a thumb tap away? While this frees up processing power, it leads to the atrophy of semantic memory. Research suggests that when we know information is saved externally, we are less likely to encode it into our own neural networks. We remember where to find the information, not the information itself. In a hybrid work context, this creates a dependency. If the digital tool goes down, does the team still know the strategy? True expertise requires internal knowledge structures that allow for intuition. You cannot have a light bulb moment about two concepts connecting if those concepts are stored in the cloud, not in your neurons. Now, let's look at the paradox of productivity versus innovation. Early in the pandemic, organizations were shocked to see productivity metrics rise. Without the commute and the water cooler chat, people worked more. For convergent tasks, which are tasks with a clear goal and a single answer, remote work is often superior because you can eliminate the extraneous load of the office. However, a landmark study of over 60,000 Microsoft employees revealed the dark side. While short-term output remained high, cross-group collaboration plummeted by 25%. The networks within the company became siloed. This is catastrophic for innovation. Creativity is associative. It thrives on random, chaotic inputs. It relies on weak ties, the casual acquaintance you bump into while getting coffee who gives you a fresh perspective. The remote environment is curated. We only schedule meetings with people we need to talk to. We remove the serendipity. The result is cognitive tunnel vision. We become very efficient at doing what we already know how to do, but we lose the ability to imagine what we should be doing next. The impact of these shifts is not uniform. It passes through the filter of personality. The Big Five personality traits offer a lens for understanding this. Conscientiousness, the trait associated with self-discipline and organization, is the single strongest predictor of remote work success. In the office, external structures like the boss walking by act as prosthetic executive functions. At home, those prosthetics are removed. Individuals with high conscientiousness naturally create their own structure. Those with low conscientiousness find themselves at the mercy of their environment, leading to procrastination and burnout. We also see an interesting nuance with introverts and extroverts. Introverts often report lower fatigue but are prone to social inertia, retreating entirely into an echo chamber. Extroverts, on the other hand, became digital socialites, scheduling back-to-back video calls. But they face a specific cognitive dissonance, the empty calorie interaction. They get the quantity of social interaction, but not the quality, leaving them chronically unsatisfied. For neurodivergent individuals, remote work is a double-edged sword. For those with ADHD, the lack of body doubling can be tough for motivation, but the control over sensory input is a godsend. For autistic individuals, the reduction in ambiguous social chit-chat and the ability to communicate via text has been a massive cognitive relief. This hybrid model, if flexible, offers the first workplace in history that can truly accommodate diverse neural processing styles. These shifts are also mirroring and amplifying in the classroom. For students whose brains are still myelinating, the impact is structural. We are seeing the rise of the attention economy in the classroom. In a lecture hall, attention is performative. In a digital class, attention is a war against the entire internet. Students switch tabs an average of every 5 minutes. The lecture, which provides low dopamine, competes with social media, which provides high dopamine. The brain seeking efficiency chooses the high dopamine path. This leads to a degradation of sustained attention span. We are seeing a generation that struggles to watch a 20-minute video without speeding it up. More concerning is the slide in social skills. Schools are social laboratories, where we learn to read a room and resolve conflict. Remote learning robbed a cohort of students of these micro-interactions, leading to arrested social development. Technology does offer some antidotes. Virtual reality is showing promise in restoring experiential learning. A study showed a massive increase in retention using VR because it engages episodic memory, the memory of experience. You don't just read about history, you stand inside it. AI tutors also offer a shift by managing cognitive load, adjusting difficulty in real time to keep students in the zone of proximal development. But the risk is dependency. If AI summarizes every article, do we lose the ability to synthesize? We must use these tools as scaffolds, not crutches. So how do we rewire for resilience? We cannot put the genie back in the bottle. We must design workflows to support our biology. For the individual, we need cognitive hygiene protocols. First, use the context preservation rule. To combat the cost of switching, create specific modalities. Have a specific physical location for deep work versus admin work. Do not check email in the same chair you use for creative thinking. Second, practice attention restoration rituals. The brain's directed attention is a battery that drains. Nature is the charger. The 20-20-20 rule is insufficient. You need soft fascination. Take a 15-minute walk without a phone. Look at trees. Fractal patterns reduce cortisol. Do not listen to a podcast. Let the default mode network engage. Third, reclaim deep reading. Commit to 30 minutes of physical book reading a day. Use a pen to annotate. The physical act of writing connects motor neurons to memory centers. And finally, use the anti-mirror protocol. Turn off self-view on video calls immediately. You will instantly feel your cognitive load drop. You are a participant in a conversation, not an actor on a stage. For organizations, the strategy must be psychological safety by design. Be asynchronous by default. Immediate response culture forces everyone into a reactive, shallow state. Move status updates to written documents, and use meetings only for divergent thinking and bonding. You must also engineer intentional collisions. Since serendipity is dead, you must manufacture it. Structure hybrid days so that everyone is in the office on the same days. An empty office is the worst of both worlds. And finally, we must reskill social cues. Leaders must model explicit empathy. In a digital world, you cannot rely on a furrowed brow to signal confusion. You must verbalize what used to be nonverbal. We are at a crossroads. One path leads to cognitive feudalism, where a small elite who master their attention do all the deep thinking while the masses become human routers, simply moving data from one app to another. The other path is one of cognitive evolution. We can use the hybrid model to build a balanced brain, using remote work for deep thought and in-person time for true human connection. The most successful people of the next decade will not be the most tech-savvy. They will be the most mind-aware. The revolution has already happened inside your head. The question is, who is in charge of the rewiring, the algorithm or you? Thanks for listening to G Fun Facts Online.